Another year gone. Harry Potter reference. Anyway, continuing. So, 2014 has wrapped itself up and we are now heading straight for 2015. We are currently in it anyway, and I have yet to tell you how my 2014 reading went, so I figured it's about time I do that. I took a look back at my reading goals for 2014, and I had two that I set for myself. And the first goal was to read 50 books, which I completed with flying colors. I read 56 books this year. There were some graphic novels in there, but the majority of the books were solid chapter books, which is always nice. The other goal I set for myself was to make a good dent in my to-be-read pile. I would say I did that, but at the same time, I bought enough books that it doesn't really feel like I made a dent. I'm quite certain I have more books on these shelves that are unread than there are read now. So yeah, that was good but not so good. I also always like to wrap my top 5 reads from this year in these videos, so I figured I would continue that trend this year, and I have ranked the top 5, and they actually are in top 5 order this year. I didn't have a ton of books that really blew me away, so it was pretty easy to figure out which book was going to end up on top and then work my way down from there. Number 5 was Maphead by Ken Jennings. If you're into geography and maps and things like that, you'll enjoy this book. This was one I picked up from the library. I had been hearing about it, figured it might be a fun read, and I actually ended up really liking it. Gave it 5 stars. It was a solid fun read, learned some things about Ken Jennings. All good. Number 4 was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This was my first read of 2014, and I was really glad I picked it out. I try to always pick a book that I think I'll enjoy for the first read of the new year, and this one definitely fit the bill. It's a really cool, fun story involving gaming, virtual worlds, a lot of 80s references, but set in the future where the world is sort of crumbling apart. And you really get invested in the characters, and you also just want to follow through with this video game world, this virtual reality, and see what happens. It's a very popular book here on BookTube, and I did do a review of this one, so you can find that on the channel. Number 3 is The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith. This is also J.K. Rowling. This is the first book in the Cormoran Strike series, and after reading The Casual Vacancy, which was, you know, the first other non-Harry Potter book that she wrote, I wasn't totally sure how I was going to feel about this one, but I actually really enjoyed it. So much so that it came up number 3 on my list for the year. It had such wonderful characters to read about. I found the mystery itself was very intriguing. I did read The Silkworm as well, but there was just something about The Cuckoo's Calling, maybe because I was so impressed the first time that I was reading this novel. Definitely earned itself a spot on the top 3. Number 2 is Under the Egg by Laura Marks Fitzgerald. This was the first book of the year that I read that totally surprised me. This is actually a middle grade book, and the fact that a middle grade book is number 2 on my list for the year really says a lot about how much I enjoyed reading this, how great I think the story was. I have a very gushy review about it on the channel, but it was just so much fun, and I became so invested in the story, and I actually learned some stuff too reading it. Even if you're an adult, read this book. It's just so much fun, and it's such a good story. Future editing Becca here. The audio is a bit weird on this clip, so voiceover time. My number 1 pick for 2014 was Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I had such an experience reading this book. Not only was it gripping and creepy, but there was the added element of the pictures of the files and whatnot, actual photos, pictures of website pages that were added in. There was also an app at the end of the book that had even more information about this mystery. It just all came together to make for a really fantastic reading experience. This was one that I ended up borrowing from the library because I spotted it and was like, hey, that's the book everyone's been talking about. Read it and then liked it so much that I knew I had to do a review on it, as I don't tend to do reviews on books that I get from the library, but this one was just so good. Just the entire reading process of this book was so amazing. those are my top 5 of 2014. The first 4 I have reviews of here on the channel, so feel free to check those out if you want to get a little bit more detail about the stories. But now, onward to 2015. I am continuing with the trend of the Goodreads challenge and reading oh so many books in a year. This year I have decided to try 52, so basically 1 book a week. I feel like I could probably do this. As long as I keep a steady go or read a couple graphic novels. If I fall behind, then 52 reads shouldn't be a big issue. I'm not going to pay as much attention to my TBR. I feel like I do a pretty good job of not going super crazy and buying a lot of books all the time, so that's not something I need to worry about. But as a way to make my reading experience fun, add a little extra challenge to it, I've joined the seasonal reading challenge. This is something that exists on Goodreads, and it's basically for each season of the year there are particular challenges that you can complete worth so many points, and then you pick books from your pile or from the library to help you complete these. It's not like if you get so many points you win some monetary thing or some prize. I mean, sometimes if you win a certain amount of points you can come up with a challenge for the next round, but it's mostly just to kind of stick you in this little bit of a competitive environment and really give you reason to, like, hey, I need to read this book because it'll get me 20 points in the challenge, it completes this goal, you know, that sort of thing. It's just a little extra bit, and it's not going to dictate every single thing that I read, but I just thought it would be, it sounded fun. And so right now they're currently in the middle of a session. The winter challenge will go till the end of February, but the spring reading challenge will kick in March, so I'll leave a link to that down below so you guys can check it out. It is kind of confusing at first with the way the boards are set up, but you can find the 2014 winter reading tasks and get an idea of what you might be in for the spring. My final challenge is a new thing that has really been inspired by what's been going on in BookTube in 2014, and that is diversifying my reading, basically. A lot of people are really good about paying attention to the male versus female, white versus people of color reading that they do, and although I am quite certain that my male versus female author is pretty balanced, as far as the diversity, I don't think it's good at all. It's very white-centric, I'm sure. So this year I've decided to really try and pay more attention to what books I read, what I pick up, that sort of thing. I have a spreadsheet in Excel now where I will be tracking all of my reads in greater detail, and I might be able to make some of those pretty graphs that some of you guys make. I didn't go through and sort of see where I was in 2014 just because I didn't end up having any time, but for 2015 I'm definitely going to pay more attention to what I'm buying. I don't have any specific percentages that I'm setting aside, like I'm not saying I need to read 20% people of color or so on. I just want to see where I fall when I'm making a conscious effort without giving myself a specific scale to work by. Those are my 2015 goals. Read 52 books, participate in the seasonal reading challenge, and pay attention to the diversity of my reads. Feel free to let me know what your challenges for this year are down below in the comments. All the links that I said I would reference and anything else will be in the doobly-doo. As always, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.